Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Arshawn McAway. You're tuned in to Wow Podcast. By all means, go to wowpodcast.me. That's wowpodcast.me. Now, today we have a special guest. We have Ann Charles. She's here to talk to us about her latest book, Devil Days in Deadwood. Ann, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
No problem. So tell me a little bit about your book.
Devil Days in Deadwood. It's number 11 in my Deadwood Mystery Series, which is one of my best-selling series I have. And well, I'm trying to condense it with number 11. The heroine is Violet Parker, and she's been the one since the beginning. So this is not an individual, each story has its own, you could read alone, stand alone. This is really a series where, yes, you can read each book on its own, but it's best if you start at the beginning so you don't, any mysteries from the past books aren't ruined by what you learn in number 11. But in this book, we see Violet where she's moving on. She's accepted the role she has to play in addition to being a single mom of two 9-year-old twins. And she's trying to hone her skill at dealing with these other creatures. This is a mixed genre that has supernatural in it too. So she's trying to accept what she needs to do, who she is, still be a mom, still try to hold down her day job as a realtor, and find ways to keep her life somewhat normal in the midst of dealing with many, many different kinds of supernatural creatures. Some good, some bad.
So with doing a series like this, can you walk me through the character development? Because you have 11 books, you have 5 different series, if I'm not mistaken, but can you walk me through that character development?
Yeah, so back in the beginning, when I first started this and nearly departed in Deadwood, which is the first book of the Deadwood Mystery Series, we meet Violet, and she's recently moved to the town of Deadwood, which is a real town. It's kind of an old west town, gold rush days back in the 1870s, but now it's modern day. And so she's recently moved there with her 2 young kids, living with her aunt, trying this new job as a realtor, trying to sell a house. Deadwood's famous in reality for many things, but also for the ghosts. It's a haunted town. There's all kinds of, you go there, everybody's like, this building's haunted, this house is haunted. So it's a lot of fun. So she's in there, and just getting started, and that's when we meet her and trying to become a realtor. She's a dud when it comes to ghosts, so others around her are seeing things, and she's kind of like, what are you talking about? So over the first 10 books, we go from Violet just showing up on scene and trying to do this job and make sales and deal with these weird creatures and ghosts too. By the end of book 10, which is a Christmas story of sorts, she's accepted, this is who I am, this is what I must do. And part of her, she didn't know it, but a history in her family line of dealing with supernatural creatures. Her family are what they call executioners, and it's as gory as it sounds. I mean, not gory on the page, but what her job is, and it's to take out the trash that comes into the human world and causes problems.
You have 5 different series going on at the same time. How do you keep track of them all?
I have a lady who helps me. She has a business called Your World Keeper, and we actually met long before she started this business, and she was a fan, and she noticed that I had some inconsistencies in eye color and a couple other things in earlier stories that I've since fixed. And so I said, oh, you're perfect. So I could use your help all the time. So she helped me with extensive notebooks keep track of all the different details, all the different series. And I have a lot of notes as well. And I reread every book in the series every time I start the next book because I do have so many different series.
So how long does it take you to publish a book in a year?
It takes me, I actually publish usually about two full-length to 3 full-length books in 1 year. But I also write short stories periodically that go with these big series and full-length novels. So sometimes I'll write 2 full-lengths and then 1 short book in a year. So usually it takes me about 4 to 5 months to go from start to finish and release.
Okay. Now this is very interesting. You co-write books with your husband. How does that work?
I do. Well, we've tried, this is the third one. We're working on the third one in the series we write together, and we've tried each one differently, but this time we did where we brainstorm together and he writes the first draft, and we're just at the point now where he's handing it off to me, and I take over from there and go in and add other elements, things that I do, things different, a few scenes I flesh out more, other things, adding details. And so each book has been different. And, sometimes we agree completely, sometimes we disagree. In the end, we get it to what we both like, and that can take a little time. So far, so good. We've remodeled houses, had kids, 20 years of marriage, so this was a big, trial writing the books together, but it's worked out. So,
Right.
It can be a lot of fun.
Right. That's exciting. So let me ask you this. Are you a indie published author or a traditional published author?
I am independent and indie. I started out with a small press that I co-owned. And after a while, I realized I couldn't publish books for others and do my own and all that needed to be done. So I, quit the publishing company and walked away and went completely solo as an indie author, doing everything from start to finish, including all the promotion and marketing and all that good stuff too.
You write a mixed genre of humor, mystery, supernatural elements, romance, and adventure. What made you go in that direction?
I started out way back when trying to write romance back in the 90s. That was my first thing. And I really sucked at emoting enough to pull off a full-on romance. So then I moved to mystery, knowing, maybe if I have this to help pull the plot along, it'll help me, because I don't want that much time with just the characters, like a romance. So I always joke that once I started, killing people on the page, it helped a lot. But to be honest, it was a struggle I had from the start. I mean, I tried to get in, I sent proposals and everything to major publishers long ago, and I would get that they loved the writing. They just wanted me to choose between, mystery or romance. They didn't like my mixed genre stuff. And I tried to go the route they wanted, but then it just didn't feel natural. So in the end, the ebook revolution and all that good stuff, independent publishing really was perfect timing for me, because I could write the books I wanted to write that have the mix and not have to try to conform my voice to fit a certain, what the publisher wanted. So it just kind of came naturally, and with multiple rejections along the way, until I accepted what this is. I write mixed genre books. That's kind of what I do.
So what's next for Anne? What do you have on your plate?
So we'll get my husband and I will get the third book in my the Undertaker series, which is really a prequel series to my main Deadwood mystery series, kind of what happened in Deadwood back in the 1870s during the gold rush. So we will get that book finished and out this fall, and then I will write Deadwood number 12 and hope to have that out in maybe January of 2021. We're also going to, with my husband, we're going to write a Christmas story with the Undertaker series, kind of a fun Old West style Christmas. So we want to get that one out in, late November, early December as well. And then I'll go back to in 2021, I'll write some more for my Jackrabbit Junction series and the Dig Site Archaeology series, and just keep building and building.
So you mentioned, if I heard you correctly, you mentioned that there's a Deadwood in real life. Is there a place somewhere in the United States that has some creepy ghost type things going on?
Yeah, so Deadwood, South Dakota. It's in the Black Hills, the western side of South Dakota, and it's a real town. It's been there since the 1876. It's been a little bit before, but it was more of a camp. But it was one of the gold rushes. And the Black Hills had gold, and they had the big Homestake mine, which was the biggest gold mine, I believe, in the Western Hemisphere for years and years. That just shut down in the early 2000s. But anyway, it's a real town. It's notorious. They're Wild Bill Hickok, Calamity Jane, those Western figures were all there. Wild Bill Hickok died there. So it's got a lot of history already, nonfiction that happened there, and unfortunately, there was a lot of violence, but that comes with mining and gold and all the, accoutrements of that. So it is a real place. And what's really fun is I try to keep a lot of the buildings and history true to it, just adding fiction in. So if you enjoy the series that I write or the Old West series, you can go to Deadwood. You can be, it's like a Harry Potter land equivalent, only it's a real town in Deadwood, South Dakota.
Wow. So let's tell everybody where they can purchase your books and how they can get in contact with you.
Okay, well, I'm available as audiobooks, print books, and ebooks all over the place. You can find the ebooks at the usual big vendors, Amazon, Apple, Kobo, and Barnes & Noble, as well as print books are out there too, and audiobooks, are through the big normal vendors, plus the Deadwood series is through all sorts of them like Chirp and everybody else. And you can also go to my website, www.anncharles.com, and click on the books link, and then I have all different links for each book there as well if you have trouble finding them. And you can contact me through that website as well, and I'll help you if you're having trouble.
Well, I'm your host, Darshawn McAway. We're talking to Ann Charles about her latest book, Devil Days in Deadwood, and it was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
No problem.